Okay, already we have here. Okay, one of you. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Okeke.
Good morning, Mrs. Ijokeke.
Okay, good morning, Mrs. Jide Okeke. Good morning, ma. Can you hear
Good
us, Ms.
morning.
Jane Obasi from University of Nigeria?
Yes, I can.
Good
Yes, I can
afternoon.
hear you.
Good morning. Okay.
Good
So
morning.
for this session, we have a curriculum and education part 2.
Okay.
And I think the chairperson is not here. Trying to see if the chairperson is not around right now. Texas Iqv from Wigwe University. So we're actually waiting for the chairperson now. So in the next 4 minutes, if it's not there, then we commence the session. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, sir. Are you part of the panelists? Yeah. Just that it is interesting. Sorry for this. No, I'm the host. Oh, yeah. Are you part of the panelists? No, no. This is 103. 103, yes. Curriculum and education. Yes, curriculum and education. Yes. We checked whether it was. Yes, yeah, we have already 2 panelists online, but we're waiting for the chair. So in the next 3 minutes, if the chair will not show up, then we start the session. Yeah. Yes, sure. I just want to give a few minutes so that's the chair will. Good morning, Mr. Aziz Adebakin. Can you hear Mr. Aziz Adebakin?
Good morning,
Mr.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so this session is curriculum and education part 2. We'll be starting in the next 2 minutes.
It's all right, thank you very much.
Oh, yes. All right, so good morning, everyone. This is 11:06, and because of the time constraints, we are going to let's start with the presentation till we wait for the chair to join us. So this session is titled Curriculum and Education Part 2. So Mrs. Jane Obasi from University of Nigeria, can you please start your presentation? Mrs. Jane Obasi. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
All right. Okay.
All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. All right. I am, of course, Dr. Jane Obasi from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So this topic is on language and communication implication of artificial intelligence on selected Nigerian university undergraduates. And of course, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we know that that's what the main thing now. So AI is everywhere. AI is doing almost everything. So the emergence of AI, of course, has had a tremendous influence on human language and communication. And we have, of course, AI applications and softwares that have enhanced learning in recent time. We have the chatbots, we have visual assistants, we have ChatGPT and the rest. So this particular study is on the implications of this AI on learning. Yeah, has there been studies on AI? Of course, there are numerous studies on AI like I've outlined here. But why this study is important is because it's focused on the university undergraduates, the implications and the impact of AI on their communications. So the university undergraduates here are University of Nigeria Nsukka students, and then ESUT, that's Enugu State University of Science and Technology. They were the sample population for this study. And of course, for this study, the theoretical framework that was adopted was social learning theory by Albert Bandura. So for this particular theory, according to him, it projects that individuals acquire behaviors, attitudes, and skills. And then only through that you have direct experiences, but also by observing and imitating the actions of others. And for the tools of this theory, focuses on attention, retention, reproduction, motivation. Yes, but for this study, we found out that reproduction as part of the tools for social learning theory by Albert Bandura is what this particular study incorporated, because that's what the students are involved in. So now for this study, the methodology for this study is 150 undergraduate students of the University of Nigeria Nsukka, and then Enugu State University of Nigeria Enugu campus. So for these students, we have 100 from UNN and 50 from UNEC. They were randomly selected from their different levels because it is believed that these students are exposed to AI. They're exposed to using AI softwares and applications in their learning. So how did they fare? Of course, they were shared according to their numbers. We have respondents from each of these universities shared according to the number, 100 here and 50 here. UNN was 100 because that is the domicile university of the researcher. So UNEC 50 because we had to travel to UNEC to get this data. So for this particular...
Sorry, ma, a few minutes
Yeah.
before you continue with the question, your slide is actually not that visible. So let me teach you how to do it. I want you to take your icon towards the right side, downward towards the right side. There's this, is that the right? Okay, let's go to the left side then. That'll be your left side there if I have said your right side. Is that right? Then your right side, towards the down, can you see it? I mean your right side. Are you sure that is the right side?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to click on there are like 4 icons downward. by your right hand. The fourth one, click on the fourth one.
This is the fourth one.
No. I'm not talking about your slide. I'm not talking about your slide. Leave the slide alone. At the
Okay.
towards the down, let's just say the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
At the right side.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Now go to the fourth one. The fourth one. Click on the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the fourth one. The fourth icon.
The meet now.
Very close to
the view
very close to the view percentage.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Click on it.
Click
No.
No.
Go the one.
Go right.
No. The right. The one.
Okay.
This.
Yeah.
This one is better now.
Yes.
You can continue. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so okay, we've passed. Let's get to the theoretical framework, then the methodology, right? So here we were able to randomly select the university students under this study. 150, like I said, we are selected. Then the questionnaire. So the questionnaire was created from online SurveyMonkey, where 20 questions were created. And in these 20 questions, the respondents were shared into their different groups, and then they were asked. These questions were divided into two. When we move further, we'll see how the questions were divided. But for the respondents, we used the 5-point Likert scale to create the question where you have strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and then strongly disagree. So the students are expected to pick any of the questions and either tick on any of these. And of course, the questions we are created from the research question. The research question 1 says, how does artificial intelligence impact on the online and face-to-face communication? So for this spreadsheet, as you can see what I have presented here, you have communication impact, then you have vocabulary and grammar impacts, divided into two parts. So for the first part, you have 10 questions under the research question 1, and then the second part, that's the vocabulary and grammar impact, you have also 10 questions, making up a total of 20 research questions. So this is just a snippet, a screenshot of just the first part of it. It's numbered 1, 2, 3, it's up to 20 here, but I just have to present this. So this is what it looks like for the research question 1. And of course, like I said, this is an example of the questionnaire like you have here. Section 1, the impact of AI on Nigerian university students' communication, both in person and online. And then you have these options outlined. That's for section 1. Of course, we have this for up to 10 questions for the first part. That's section 1. And for the second part, that's section 2. You have AI's hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Are you there? Okay. Yeah. It says AI's impact on the vocabulary and grammar used by Nigerian university students. And you also have questions also outlined there, up to 10, which making it a total of 20 questions. So here you have the mean rating for the research questions. Of course, the research questions were rated based on accepted, rejected, and all of that. So for this is just a screenshot of the first part of the research question, which says, how does artificial intelligence impact on online and face-to-face communication of Nigeria university students? For instance, the first question there that says, AI has enhanced communication effectively. Then you realize that we have more accepted than rejected for this first part of the question. And if you look at the second part there, you have the research question 2, which says, how does artificial intelligence impact the vocabulary and grammar used by Nigerian university students? And this is the mean rating for these questions 11 to 20, of course. You see, you have more acceptance than rejections. The use of AI has improved my vocabulary. AI has influenced my use of English grammar. AI has impacted my knowledge of synonyms and antonyms, and the rest. You see the questions outlined here. And of course, for this one, you see accepted, accepted, accepted. The impact of AI is what we are looking at. Now, from that spreadsheet, From the spreadsheet, of course, we have the mean rating, and from the mean rating, we created this t-test analysis. And from this t-test analysis, we found out that the analysis for this particular table, which shows that the calculation 0.67 is significant as 0.51. It's running over here. So I don't know whether you can still hear me. So
Yes,
obviously what is happening here is, yes, it's really running here. So obviously what is happening here is that from this t-test analysis, you can see that obviously acceptance rate is better, is higher, far higher than non-acceptance rate for both universities, UNN and UNEC. The impact that AI has had on these students are more of positive than negative. And of course, from the conclusion is also stating here that the effect of AI for language and communication is both positive and negative. Of course, we have more positive than negative. It enhances communication, improves vocabulary and grammar, and improves the quality of relationship among others. However, it has affected it makes students to pay less attention to meaningful face-to-face interaction. So they also become more dependent on technology for English language vocabulary development. So AI itself has positive impacts and it has negative impact on the students. However, it has more positive impact than the negative impact from the students, communications with the students and the responses we got from the students for this particular research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jane Odasa from Best of League, Nigeria. Okay, moving on to the next person, Mrs. Uji Okeke. So if you can just please go ahead with your presentation. Mrs. James, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay. I'm here now, but the issue I have now, I could not upload this. I don't know what happened. I've been trying to know if I can get my PowerPoint uploaded, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll be allowed to present without that.
It's okay, right?
Yeah.
All right, please go ahead with it.
Okay, my topic is on English language accessibility and equity in Nigerian universities. Role of technology in promoting inclusivity. Okay, I'm Ijoke Namaka from Madonna University. We all know, as the last presenter said, that AI is doing almost everything. This is a new trend, and especially it's also coming into education, as we all know. Now, this word I'm using university students, both undergraduate and postgraduate students, and also the staff of the universities are mostly based on the English language department, using two universities, one federal and one private university. Okay, we all know that in this multilingual and multicultural society like Nigeria, the English serves as the primary medium of instruction at the university level. However, the accessibility and equity of this language remains uneven across the country's higher institutions, particularly in federal and the private institutions. So in this digital age, that this technology presents a transformative opportunity to address these inequalities. And integration of these from e-learning platforms and mobile applications, media resources, or whatnot, has the potential to democratize access to these instructions, bring learning gaps, and promoting more inclusive educational outcomes. Now, looking at the literature review, the researcher reviewed three scholars. One reviewed Blake 2013, and Blake assessed that digital tools like language learning software, media environments, and mobile apps enhance both comprehension and engagement among learners of English. Remember, I said that I was working on two universities, federal and private university. Now, according to Adebute 2010 and Debayo 2016, they made mention of the problem in federal university. They said that in Nigerian context, they reviewed persistent challenge in federal institutions. And those challenges they reviewed are poor digital infrastructure, limited internet connectivity, and inadequate teacher training for technology use. Now, coming to private institutions, I reviewed Bukola 2018 that suggests that there is a growing push to use digital technologies more actively in this private institution, but it is still a worry about whether these advancements are affordable and accessible to everyone. This is what Adebe Bukola mentioned about private institutions, the problem they are facing. Then looking at the theory used in this work, the researcher made use of two theories. One of the theory is critical. One of them is critical pedagogy theory, propounded by Freire 1970. And this theory emphasizes education as a practice of freedom, where learners must be provided equitable tools and platforms to participate fully in academic life. Now, looking at the second theory, which is digital divide theory, propounded by Van Dijk in the early 2000s, the theory highlights how access to and use of technologies is unequally distributed, often along socioeconomic and institutional lines. Now, looking at this Van Dijk theory, he made mention of 4 kinds of access that contribute to digital divide. One of them, he talks about motivational access, which is the willingness and interest to use. That is, if the people involved are willing or whether they have interest in using these tools. They're looking at the second asset, which is material access. Material access talk about actual availability of digital tools and infrastructure. Like I use this to schools. Do they have that available, those tools available in those institutions? Then look at the skills access. This has to do with digital competence. If people involved are competent enough to use these tools in learning in English language classroom. Then look at the last one, usage access. Talks about actual patterns and depth of technology use. So all those levels help explain why simply providing technology does not guarantee equal digital participation or outcomes. Then we'll now go to the methodology. The researcher employed a qualitative comparative approach, selecting 2 universities, 1 federal and 1 private. So the reason is based on their differing digital infrastructure and language teaching methods. So the sample here consists of 60 participants with 30 randomly chosen from each institution. That is, we have 10 students and 20 staff members from each of these institutions. So data collection involves semi-structured interviews with language lecturers. They were interviewed on the availability or usability of these digital tools in their language class. Then we'll talk about the focus groups with students and classroom observation, where students were observed and also interviewed also on how they use it and the help and how it will help them if paraventure is being introduced or is being used in their institution. Then we'll look at the descriptive analysis was used to uncover key factors related to access, teaching practices, digital literacy, and inclusivity. Okay, coming to the findings. The study finds that federal institutions, from what the interview, the observation gathered, and everything, it was found that the federal institutions show wider disparities due to funding gaps. And when we look at the private institution, they offer more advanced technology, but costs remain the problem. Okay, the access is limited by cost. And for both institutions, equity depends on infrastructure, digital literacy, and policy support. So if those the people involved or the educators or the lecturers are not actually competent in the use of these technological tools, I don't think that it will work in the classroom where they will use it to teach those students, because we know that the technology is the in thing now, and that is what is happening. And in school, it has come to stay, and there's nothing we can do about it. The only problem is for us or for schools to do their best in Okay, maybe engaging teachers in this workshop on technology for them to be able to use these tools in their teaching practice or pedagogical outcomes. Then looking at the conclusion, he said that technology holds significant potential to enhance English language accessibility and equity in Nigerian universities. However, this potential remains underutilized due to infrastructural and policy-related challenges. The findings, according to what I said, shows that while private institutions are relatively better positioned, the only problem they have is that cost. The cost is the problem they have. But since they are relatively positioned, both institutional ties must address inclusivity gaps to ensure all students benefit equitably. Thank you. God bless us.
Thank you very much, ma'am, Mrs. Ndero. Okay, cool. So move on to the next person, Mr. Aziz Adebakin. Please, your presentation, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aziz Adibaki from the Department of Educational Management of Bafemi Law University, Ile-Ife. Before I start, I'm having some technical glitches here, but I'm still working on it. So in the course of my presentation, I may, in a way, have to come up with sharing of my screen along the line if it's possible. So kindly permit me to go ahead while I struggle with that as I present my paper. I'm presenting on indigenous education system in Nigeria. And what about this? We want to look at the structure, the challenges and the prospects for the 21st century schools in the country. And this paper is an ongoing work, I must remark that, and it's being co-authored with Asan Kehinde Olashupo. Education is a dynamic cultural process. And particularly in Nigeria, before the colonial influence, indigenous education played a central role in transmitting knowledge. And as it comes in form of informal, but yet systematic kind of education. As it is today, indigenous education remains the life wire for growth and development of any nation, including ours, which is Nigeria. But this comes in it has a structure. This structure, well, we may say is not formalized, but then there are ways and manners by which it is being, done in the informal system. And what is this structure? What are these structures that we have in the indigenous form of education? It is informal, as I've rightly remarked, but you agree with me that it is organized. This includes the apprenticeship system, the age grade system, the focal, the proverbial and oral tradition, the rite and passages, and then the formal community-based instructions. And of course, the structure also include learning by observation. Learners engage in hands-on activities taken from experiences of elders or mentors who are into such vocational engagement, as it were. Then the structure also include community-based curriculum. Most times, there are no pen and papers, or there are no black and white documents showing the curriculum direction of the indigenous education. So as a result, there are no written curriculum, but yet the content covers morality, leadership, physical skills, vocation, training, and community responsibilities. And of course, this paper also look at the challenges with indigenous form of education. The problem include, there are numerous, but then majorly it includes marginalization by colonial and post-colonial policies, where the Western education as introduced to us by the missionaries, dismissed indigenous system and our primitive ideas, then leading to their devaluation and national policies. Then again, among the challenges is that it lacks documentation. Most times, instructions are given orally and they are not written. And as a result, there may not be means of documenting all of these ideas. And of course, the challenges also involve urbanization and modernization. Because of the globalization idea, it has shifted priority, with many young Nigerians viewing indigenous practice as outdated and irrelevant. And this poses a great challenge to us as a nation. Then curriculum disconnect. The modern Nigeria that we operate, or the modern schools that we have in Nigeria, largely ignore indigenous content in most cases. And that leads us to disconnect between learner cultural identity and what they are taught in the classroom most times. Then, of course, there is policy inconsistency. Though we have a national policy, which is the national policy of on education, and this policy truly acknowledges indigenous education, but implementation of these contents or the elements of indigenous education as for a very long time has not been in existence, and that is a great challenge to us as a country. What is the prospect that we have ahead of us, particularly in the 21st century schools? The indigenous education enhance cultural identity. That has been rightly remarked. And of course, it has relevance in learning. But ahead of us, we need to be able to sustain traditional knowledge, which covers several areas, which include land use, the conversation, and medicinal practices. And this can inform our environmental education and sustainable goals. Then, of course, again, we look at the moral and civic education. Indigenous system of education should emphasize communal values, respect and honesty, and civic duties. This will, in a way, encourage us to have a kind of global citizenship education in our schools. Then the indigenous education, if properly implemented, we should look forward to an idea of promoting entrepreneurial skills. Skills taught through entrepreneurship education or through indigenous education system, such as carpentry, tailoring, farming, and the likes, can support technical and vocational training policies that we operate in the country. Then again, we should also look forward to having a digital technology that can be used to document, preserve, and disseminate indigenous knowledge, making it accessible and adaptable for our formal learning context. From these people is recommending that there should be a policy reform. And this policy reform should have a stronger inclusion of indigenous education in the national policy framework, with funding, appropriate funding for research and integration. And of course, it's also recommending that teacher training, that is pre and in-service training of teachers, should include module on indigenous knowledge and pedagogy. Then again, we should also redesign our curriculum to have a blend of both local and global knowledge to foster relevance and cultural competencies in our educational context. Then community involvement should also be leveraged on to give expertise of local elders and artisans in formal school programs. Then lastly, the paper is also recommending that academic institutions should prioritize documentation and study of indigenous knowledge. If these are done, we look forward to a situation where indigenous system of education in Nigeria will not just be a relic of the past, but a living tradition with potential to enrich our modern schools. And then in the 21st century, that will offer a path towards culturally grounded, inclusive, and skill-driven learning in our school system. Thank you very much for listening. And I seek apology again for not being able to present this, for not being able to share my screen. Thank you very much. Hello, I'm done. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very, very good.
Who is? Okay, the person is the chair.
You are chair.
Oh, so I think we still have. Oh, so I think we still have one more presenter. Or is it the last? I'm just coming to.
Maybe ask the guys online if there's another presenter available.
So
According to the program, you should.
according to the. So hello. Can we go to the next presenter? I think we'd have Aziz Adebakin and Azan Kehinde. Okay, let's
Just present it, sir.
okay. What about Tetsia? I don't know. So Tetsia. So is he there? Is he okay? I don't think. Let me. No. This is Adebakin. Tetsia is not. She's not. Is absent. I think so.
Maybe try. Without
Adebakin. Adebakin is not there. Okay, this is Adebakin. So
No, Adibaki has
I just presented. So we can have
the others are absent.
the absent because I have Aziz Adebakin, I have Jane Obasa, I have Inemeka Iji. So
They presented already.
yeah, so let's just move to the Q&A session then. So hello, can you hear me online?
Yes, I can hear you. Adebakin can hear you, please.
So
Yes,
we can just
Jen Obasi can also hear you.
we can just proceed to the Q&A session. So for anybody online who has a question and people in the room who also have a question. So someone in the room has a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, presenters. Those were three brilliant papers. Although I must confess my bias towards the last presentation on indigenous education, even though it didn't have slides. I think your presentation was very fluent. The three were very fluent, and I followed you very closely. So for Adebaki, I just have one comment. I agree with almost everything you have said. I'll just ask you to rethink the idea of the lack of documentation as a problem for indigenous education. I think we overstate that because when we do that, we disregard oral record as a form of documentation. We follow the colonial fetishization of the written record, even though we know from experience that the written record is not as accurate as it tends to be. So maybe reconsider that we are writing and maybe include that the fact that we need, because you also said we need to give more respect to our indigenous knowledges, and I agree with you. We also need, in my thinking, we also need to give more respect to the oral tradition. After all, these traditions were passed on from generation to generation, and they were followed very well. And they kept our societies in pretty good shape before we face the problems we face. There were the two other colleagues about AI. Thank you for your work. I just want to challenge a bit what appears to be a common presumption that AI, the second presenter on English talked about it as potential. Interestingly, I teach English. The other person says AI has enhanced learning. Are these not presumptions? Normally, we hear this from the people who sell AI technology. This AI is a new thing. Even the so-called online teaching and learning, which gained preeminence since 2021, these are new ways. We seem to be following Microsoft and those who want to sell technologies, and they just tell us that it will work. We do not have outcomes that support the assumption that these things work. And the first study, for instance, you tended to skip a very interesting step in the research process. You are doing your research analyzes the perceptions of students. The perceptions of students do not translate into a conclusion that indeed it works. The students think it works. Maybe they get greater marks if they use AI. But that does not mean that they have improved. Doesn't mean they have knowledge. So I will stop there. But thank you. The three presentations were very good. I commend you. I congratulate you on the good work you have done.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for
sir.
that contribution,
Thank you
sir.
very
Can
much,
I,
sir.
yes, can I respond to the person
Go
that
ahead.
just talked?
Go
Yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. You talked about, that what we found out is actually perceptions, but I am a teacher also, and these were live, though they were questionnaires, but I interact with students, and to the extent of even incorporating AI in my teachings. For instance, at times you can throw a question that seems to be difficult for the student to understand. Then I could tell the students, okay, let's key into ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT says about this. Now, I could say, okay, this is, for instance, how do you articulate sure? What are the variants of sure articulation? I know that you can also get that in your dictionaries and in Google and all of that. But when you use AI tends to explain it further, giving you examples and samples from different variables. I incorporate AI in teaching. I also incorporate it even in the assignments. I take them to channels that, that feature AI and all of that. And these are the responses I have got from them. And personally, I also use AI to enhance. There are times where you will find it difficult to even assimilate or externalize your thoughts. And you could key in. For instance, this morning, it was difficult for me to understand why, scholars will say for publications, add me, add me for publications, add me, I want to be the corresponding author and all of that. And I have journal publications where particularly you don't indicate whether you are the corresponding author or you are the first. You will just see it outlined, names according to how it was arranged when you sent your publication. But you see scholars for promotion's sake, they will say, oh, I want to be the corresponding author. So I Googled that and I was having, issues trying to resolve that. But I keyed into ChatGPT. What do you think about scholars asking about being corresponding author? And he gave me lots and lots of variable responses from different parts of the world. And that, of course, helped me to even interact with my colleague and explain to her why she should or should not be asking for corresponding author. I can give examples and examples of some of those issues and encounters. And of course, I can tell you that AI is not even new because even now, your Google uses AI. AI is not new, just that in this part of the world is something that has become too common, in quotes, even though there are abuses, like I've explained, the negative side of AI. If you use AI well, is quite something that you encouraging and interesting. Thank you.
So, do we have more questions in the room? Or okay, there's another question from the room.
Morning, everyone. My first question goes to the last presenter. I mean, the person that was just responded, yes. Regarding the use of AI, I'm glad she mentioned the fact that if it is used well, and when you try to balance it, that using AI to make students knowledgeable, to what extent can we actually say that AI makes students knowledgeable when you are not actually aware of the veracity of information that AI is generating for you to? I believe that the only person that can use AI effectively with is someone who already has some knowledge base and somehow trying to make things faster. That does not necessarily mean that the person is relying 100% on what AI is generating for it. It is actually a way of balancing what he has to generate more information and see whatever information AI is giving it to take
That's
one
right.
that he considers is good. That is that about that. The other presenter, Laki or something. Yes. Adibaki, sorry. My question borders on in the promotion of indigenous knowledge systems. What is the role of language? We cannot dissociate indigenous knowledge from our culture. And our culture is well established within our indigenous languages. But in this era where the use of indigenous languages have been seen as a sign of purity, how do we balance this? When we want to preach indigenous knowledge and we are discouraging the use of indigenous language, what do you have to say to that, sir?
Please
Thank
go
you
ahead,
very
man.
much. Thank you very much. You say that in my presentation, I also mentioned that there is need for us to have the need for us to go ahead with curriculum design. In redesigning the curriculum, I do not agree less with you that indigenous language and indigenous knowledge go hand in hand. Because, for instance, you want to teach Ofo in Yoruba language. Of course, you cannot teach Ofo in Yoruba language to an Hausa person without not first teaching that person how to speak Yoruba language fluently. The person needs to understand Yoruba language. The Hausa person needs to understand Yoruba language to know how to pronounce words and then the implication of the use of words before they can go ahead and teach that person Ofo in Yoruba language. And that goes with other languages. And that's why it's been recommended that there's need for us to redesign our curriculum such a way that is going to capture all these elements and then boost our indigenous knowledge. Thank you very much.
So there is another contribution to what you have just said.
Yes, what they have
Yeah, please go ahead.
just to add what the presenter just said, I actually will say that it's also a matter of educational policy. The issue of curriculum. For instance, in Nigerian educational policy, indigenous languages of the immediate environment, and they are only allowed at the basic level of education, from primary 1 to primary 3. Then from primary 3, you start to teach the child in foreign languages, English language, for instance. So beyond the issue of curriculum design, we need to come up with a policy, and that's essentially it's at the table of government, And I think as a stakeholder, one of the things we can begin to do is to mount pressure on government to see reasons why. The moment you take the language away from a child, you have taken away their culture, you have taken away identity. You have taken away identity. And we are preserved when our language and our values are preserved. So we need to talk about to a large extent, and again, another issue I would also like to point out is that we also need to democratize education or restructure our educational system in such a way that we can begin to use education, for instance, language of communication in Hausa. It should not be, de-emphasize any of our languages. So in Hausa, in the north, for instance, then Hausa should be allowed. In the southeast, Igbo should be allowed. And we can begin to now look at converging, we can begin to, as curriculum experts, that will now be the work of the NERDC coming together, you mentioned offer. You understand? If you are to teach offer, in Hausa, what are those chants? What are those words? In Hausa, you know, they have the same concepts with what you have, with maybe offer in Yoruba, in incantations and things like that. Then we begin to see how we can synchronize our indigenous, you know, knowledge using our indigenous language. And I think with that, we'll be fine. We'll be good to go. And this sort of development will not be far away from Africa. As long as, sorry, I'm also trying to go away again. As long as you want to rely, you just want to be adapting and adopting. We will not come to a level where we can produce our own artificial intelligence. All we are doing is just that we are just borrowing technology, talking about AI. We will only be adapting, we will not evolve. China has evolved. That's why they are a very strong content. Power is, you know, let me not go into so many things. So it's until we identify and we recognize that we need to come up, sit up, and, you know, be serious with our languages, our education, and we should not be afraid of running a race that we have not started. That is the problem we have with Africa. We want to start talking about artificial intelligence and all of those things when we have not even. Just I was reading, somebody said what they should have introduced us. They should have introduced us to technology through introductory technology. But what were we doing? We're doing carpentry. We're doing woodworks. Was that introduction to technology? You know, so we need to really come up and see how we can preserve ourselves and put up a strong force to ensure that our languages, you know, are preserved and to encourage indigenous education. Thank you very much.
So someone has a question again for the contribution. Okay.
I think as a student of curriculum, when we talk about educational policies, there is an element of the curriculum development which deals technically, and that is the curriculum control. And no, there are so many, there are different stages in the curriculum development. You have to design the implementation, evaluation, engineering, and so on and so forth. Control is so key, it's very important. And we all know that he who pays the piper, the government is in charge of curriculum control. And I think it's right time. I want to propose that as teachers, it's that time that we also start involving ourselves in politics, so that we'll be there. And when we're there, and when issues about curriculum come up, we'll be able to say, yes. Someone raised an issue during the time of President Professor John. I think it was Professor one day, the other. Abibola, thank you. It was the special advisor, the advisor to the president on religious matters. And he's a African traditionalist. And the issue was that what will he advise? Because it's as easy. He will base his. If you favor his own religion, it's just as easy as that. So if teachers, educationists, educators, we are in government, we at the House of Assembly, Senate, or we are ministers of education. When issues about curriculum arise, we will be able to say yes, and we'll be talking from the vantage position of knowledge, and we'll be able to actually take charge of the control of the. Thank you.
Chair,
So I think.
I make a quick rejoinder, please.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Short. I want to thank the colleagues over there. I'll just add to what he's saying about AI. I agree with what even the presenter has said. You can use AI just as you use Google to get facts. Let's say you are looking for what is the total square miles of this location. You can use AI to get that. The problem comes when you think you are using AI to think. When you allow your students, whom you should be training to use their own minds to do critical thinking, to now go to a machine, the machine doesn't think. I ask my students, everything you see on AI was put there by someone. Yeah. So I ask them, if you only go to AI to take what somebody else put, when will you put something on AI for somebody to take? So we start the thinking ability. ChatGPT will write an essay for you. ChatGPT will select. Somebody is selecting, sifting, excluding, including, analyzing. That is what my students should be doing. That is what I am paid for. If I allow him to take what somebody has done, or if I allow ChatGPT to design my teaching for me, what am I being paid for? So I think in terms of legacy, what kind of legacy do we want to leave to the young people that have been entrusted onto us? Yes, use those tools to gather facts and to be quick sometimes, but never let it substitute thinking, analysis, and decision making. Making conclusions. You should not submit that to any machine. Thank you.
Okay, please. All right. Okay. Can I just make a contribution to that regard? Okay. Yes. I agree with yes what he has just said. 100%. Just like from this study, we have both the positive and the negative side. But there's something about AI that I personally have come to terms with. AI also talks rubbish. AI writes rubbish. From the other speaker who said, you feed AI what you want, and sometimes AI can give you extremely what doesn't make sense. And to the extent that, there are even AIs now that have emotions. Like I usually, I abuse them, and you see AI will say, I am sorry. On one occasion where I was trying to tell my students, this common error between am, and the contracted form I apostrophe am, you see is very common. When they want to use I'm here, for instance, I'm Jen, you see am Jen. Instead of I apostrophe am Jen, or I am Jen. So on one occasion, we tried to sort it out. We read. I took them to some of my videos to watch. Then I said, okay, let's see what this AI.
Yeah, I think it's a connection.
That's really how you like to campaign.
So I think the yeah, it's from that connection. So I think but I think you also post a question to the second presenter, right?
Yeah, I think she has addressed.
Okay.
It was just about
then
not relying completely on AI without necessarily verifying whatever information. And it becomes more fundamental when you then ask students to begin to trust the machine with whom you know that it doesn't really have all the facts. If you type the wrong thing on any of these AI machine, it will spit out the same wrong thing when somebody asks a question that is related to what you are. So it's like it regurgitates everything we give back to it without it. So you need certain basic knowledge before you can use the expert.
It's like an expert.
That
this what this thing is saying is actually right or wrong. And so our students are not experts yet. Yes. They are not experts yet. So it's until they have also been able to come to a point where they can do critical thinking, problem solving, and some of these things, that they can also be in the position to verify the thinking of AI. And that's why I will not 100% encourage. For instance, I don't allow myself, I know it when I see. When you bring it to me as a project,
yeah, sure.
Go and read literature, learn how to cite. You can use technology, all of this Zotero to reference and all of those things. I don't have a problem with that. But you should be able to write something from your head. You know, it's when you are able to do that that you are also growing, and somehow you also be able to generate and produce knowledge in something.
So I think you.
She was saying something. She wants to round up. The person.
Okay, please go ahead. We're saying something before you went offline. Can you go ahead, please?
It's just basically what, yes, it's just basically what everyone has just agreed on, that you really have to have, you know what you want and what is the right thing, and then you assess what the AI has produced and see how to adjust that. Yeah, students actually may not have that ability or that competence to. That's why, like he said, you ask them to write a project in, for instance, introduction, they will copy AI one. And of course, we know when it is AI. So you really have to encourage them, in as much as there are also smart ones that will also know how to guide the AI to produce the right thing. That smartness also requires you to, read and study. So what we are saying, in effect, we are all agreeing together, both the positive side, and of course, he has a positive side, and then the negative sides are there. So it's just, a study and then getting, the students' views on how these things work. And of course, we shouldn't allow it to rule us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My contribution is actually on the issue of curriculum, and when we look at literature, we realize that most of the solutions that we are proposing are, I don't want to use the word novel if we are not being unconscious or to that, but realize that for the past 2 decades, 3 decades, we keep complaining about our educational system. And the purpose of education stems from our curriculum. The earliest curriculum was designed mainly for us to serve the whites. It was basically on cramming, on numeracy, on writing, non-quiz, and like, and till date, we'll still permutate or try to, we've not really done something great to the curriculum. Let's take, for instance, those in the ancient world, their curriculum, their teaching is mostly hands-on. Ours is memorization, learning how to be a good typist, a good secretary, a good messenger in an office, and all these things we do mostly is on administration, and we've not actually balanced it, or even to date. We have CCMAS, we have this, but when you go to engineering curriculum, you see what things are listed there on how, what's it called? Machine, on they are not hands-on, and some that are hands-on are not detailed enough, and we keep going back and forth. And now we have a greater challenge of AI. AI is a global challenge, but we Africans felt it more because in the Europe, in the West, in the global north, their own system of teaching is practical in a way. When you have a class of probably 5, 7, or maximum 15, they have practicality, they discuss, they give them a material to read and come to class and discuss it. But in our own way, you have a class of 300 students, you have a class of 1,000 students, you are teaching them, and you ask us to be more practical and like. So we have these various challenges. So when the problem of AI comes, Africa will feel it so much, because at the end of the day, we only exchange it whereby human being is meant to think. Now robot will be thinking for us, and human being will become robot. So the challenges is actually enormous until we realize that this AI is here, we can't change it, but our method of teaching needs to be more practical oriented, not submit assignments, our way of grading this one make first class because it can cram. Compared to when you come to class, you interact, you have discussion sections, and we can think in class. Not that submit your assignment to Google Form, submit your assignment to Telegram, and we mark it and we send it out. That does not show intelligence. So the discussion continues, but this is my own perception of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, do we still have other?
Just
Okay.
stemming from what he said, I would like to say that the era of raising or producing manpower, the messengers, ended in 1969. Ended in 1969.
Thomas Soro.
When let's get this. When Nigeria had the first indigenous curriculum process, and a lot of innovations, a lot of things came from that process. That was what introduced the 63 system of education and several other things that came. Now, if we see, we are Africans and we are Nigerians, and there are some things I want us to also, when we say some things, we should not be in a position where the market accepts, especially for the global space. Nigerians that verify this anywhere. Scientists, technological experts, engineers, Nigerians, they thrive when they go fast. You cannot see, to a large extent, we may say that our curriculum is teacher-centered, it's bookish, that and that. But see, one of the things we lack, there are tools with which we can do our work, or what we call infrastructure. You make mention of engineering department. When you get to engineering department, they know all of those tools they do not have. They've seen it on books, they've seen models, they can do several things, but they don't have the resources to get them done. And that is why when they get overseas, they do so well. But the foundation has already been laid. I think what we should be talking about is not that our curriculum is not active. I can tell you countries that have come to borrow our system of education and they are doing well with it. So what Nigeria really need is investment in terms of provision of infrastructure and tools in critical sectors, especially in the area of tech, in the area of engineering, and in the area of medicine and the rest of them. All of our experts, they compete very well globally. Teachers, they do well when they go overseas. Those foundations, it was not there that they taught them. It was not the learning that they are using. You understand? The foundation has already been used. So we should not take a position to say that our curriculum is so terrible, so bad, and that is why we are not making it. The progress we are not making is as a result of infrastructure, which at every sector is not available. And that's just something I feel we should agree on moving forward.
Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. So,
yes, I don't want to kind of write that what we had regarding how this AI technology should function within an educational system. Another key area which educators need to be so particular about is our assessment practices. Previous speakers have actually pointed out that yes, if the student has used AI platform to do anything, as an expert, you should be able to find that out to know that this is not directly from the student. But we should also know that we now have AI that can be used to take out the AI imprint from what has been produced. Turning AI version of work into what seems like the human version of that work. So we are like using AI to verify the veracity of another AI, which I believe is not, but the best way to find out whether our learners have actually mastered what we are taught them is in our assessment practices. What kind of items do we set? How do we ask our questions? Are we focusing only on the lower order of the cognitive domain, or we are merging it with the higher order of the cognitive domain? Are we not just focusing on the cognitive? Are we capturing the affective and the psychomotor aspects? It is when all these are put together and the students are made to defend what they have done in displaying the reality of what we have within our own environment. I believe we'll have a headroom. Thank you.
yeah, so thank you for that wonderful contribution. So we can also take comments from our online attendees. So if anyone has a question, they can just signify by raising up their hands. So we still have like probably 20 more minutes or like 19 minutes to go. So
people online, if you have questions, you can raise your hand, or if you feel more comfortable, you can put it in the chat or in the Q&A section. And we have.
please go ahead.
I also want to add, or let my points in support for that the issue of the noise we are making, the condemnation we are giving to the use of AI is not necessary. But we look at the technology behind that AI. Just same thing we have what we have, all those things that we have before the advent of popularization of we cannot move. Most important thing for us is that all these things that are even emphasizing the issue of knowledge, basic learning, they are emphasizing community. And as I said, even the lower, what do we call it now? Aspects of the domain. So it's high time that we started emphasizing the motor and affecting the mates too. And cannot. We should start talking about humanizing what our learners or even ourselves, what we get from the different AI tools that we have. Thank you.
Okay, please go ahead.
And this what was about curriculum coding or how we also need to shut up. So just to be clear, I personally think that the Nigerian curriculum as a whole, if I had my way, it would be, what's the right word? You know when you turn something.
You invert.
Thank you. I personally feel like that. You mentioned the fact that other countries come borrow from us. I don't know how bad that's the business. But as someone who has done a little bit of research into the way other curricula across different continents have been structured, I feel like there's a gap in what we currently have. I don't think that our curriculum is structured in such a way that it promotes critical thinking. And this is why. Now, for someone who is doing a first degree, and I'm starting from the first degree because not everybody who advances to master's or PhD, some people just get that basic knowledge so that they can say, oh, I've gone to the university. We are introduced to a system where you are not encouraged to question things. First of all, what you're learning is outdated. Let's start from there. And then secondly, you're introduced to a system where you're not encouraged to question things, where you have some lecturers, not all, because I have been blessed to encounter lecturers that are forward thinking, but you have lecturers who maybe because of their own lack of knowledge, right, of their limitations in knowledge, do not encourage critical thinking. I'm trying to be as
yes, it's fine.
They do not encourage critical thinking. I have been in sessions and classrooms or lecture halls where a student stands up to challenge the position and says, oh, based on recent research, this is what is obtainable. And the lecturer tells you, you are not the one to tell me what's going on in this classroom, right? Exactly. You're not the one to tell me what's going on. So you shut down people's minds and they don't have that ability to think critically. And for us to advance, why is the Western world doing as well as they're doing? Because they're thinking outside the box, right? Now we are put in a situation where we have graduates who come out and they cannot think beyond the walls of what they have heard in the classroom. right? They are not challenged to do that. And the kind of problems we have in this country are problems that need us to think outside the box, right? So there's that for the curriculum. Then when it comes to the infrastructure has to back the curriculum, right? They cannot work in isolation. So if you're going to be teaching me things that are different, when I was in the university some few years back, I did a course, I borrowed a course from the computer science department, and they were teaching algorithm. And we're drawing
The writing is easy.
algorithm.
There is nothing very
Still, I left the university, I didn't know what, in my mind I was like, what the hell is algorithm? Only for me to come out now, and I'm seeing that it's a whole different thing altogether. Do you get where I'm coming from? So I feel like the curriculum itself, it's not bad because it suits it's contextualized to
Context.
suit, exactly, to suit us. However, we also need to up the curriculum in such a way that it meets global standards, right? Now, the case of people who go out and do well, let me tell you why. And most of these things I say out of experience. The reason why a lot of Nigerians go out and they do tremendously well is because we were brought up in a system that teaches you how to struggle, right? A system that pushes you beyond your limits. So when you go out and you find out that life is not that hard, your lecturers want to the lecturer your lecturer even wants to get feedback from you. Your lecturer wants to know how you can interact. The lecturer wants to know how you can you're failing because the lecturer will call you and say, the problem? Is it my mode of teaching? Is it that you don't understand the matter? How can I help? So they find it easy to thrive there because the environment is enabling. That is why they do so well. But yeah, you want to write your name in attendance, you struggle.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Right.
Problem. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Just
So I'm a guest crasher in this session, and so I listened to a couple of comments, and I align with many of what people have said. I just wanted to highlight the fact that we also have bad teachers in the global north. And to my thinking, I actually think that there is just no typical department that you can pick that you will not get at least 5% or more of the faculty there who are also bad teachers. And I'm speaking because I have had experience. I schooled here, did my bachelor's and master's here, right? But I just finished my PhD in Switzerland. And I have spoken with others who also schooled in Canada and the US. We have bad teachers elsewhere. Teachers are humans everywhere. And the strength of each person is different, right? There are teachers who are really nice in organizing the readings and communicating, but they would not be able to mentor you well enough. And there are teachers who would mentor you, who would even go out of their way to evaluate students differently based on their individual differences and experiences, but they cannot communicate well in class. And that's a fact. So it's not perfect anywhere. This is what I think. Even with all of the enabling systems and all the technologies and gadgets and everything, there are bad teachers everywhere. I think so. Maybe the difference would be that in the control systems, in the evaluation systems, in the monitoring systems, and in the percentage to which these things can happen and how they can happen just with impunity. Yeah.
May I just quickly want to add that one thing that you did not add is that the Nigerian teacher is someone to be pitied.
Yeah.
Because
so under pressure.
The pressure is so the teacher plays a pivotal role in the whole issue of teaching learning process and curriculum implementation.
Yeah, that's right.
And relating with the curriculum, the document itself, relating with the parents, relating with the students, relating with government, relating with the society, and The teacher is a semi-god of some sorts. And this same teacher, the Nigerian teacher, is someone that his salary take home cannot even take him home. And we have all sorts of challenges on him or her. And we expect this teacher to perform magic. I think that's an area we should also be looking at.
Yeah.
The implementation of the curriculum, the teacher plays the most important role, or maybe after the curriculum controllers, the implementation of the curriculum is also very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman. Okay.
Hello.
There's a question.
Hello, Dr. Jane. Can you go ahead, please?
Yes, mine is just a kind of on a lighter note. So I want to ask a question. In as much as we are talking about AI, and I think mostly here we have emphasized on the negative impact of AI. So I want to ask questions. Do we as researchers use AI? Do we as researchers use AI?
Yes, we do.
For instance, when you look at even this Zoom, as I opened my laptop to log on to this Zoom, I saw Zoom AI.
Yeah.
Then when you are talking about Grammarly is AI. For instance,
Yes, it is.
yes, for instance, you finished writing and you've talked all the Englishes and all of that, and you key your work into Grammarly, you see errors marked red here and there. Mind you, this has just got nothing to do with whether you're a first language, a second language learner. Even first language learners still write English wrongly. So because I did some of their works, and when I key in and when I read, mind you, first of all, before I key into Grammarly, I must have done my own reading with my own little head. So by the time I key into Grammarly and I see red here and there, that's AI. Now, I took my time to prepare PowerPoint. It took me about 2 hours to prepare this PowerPoint, which I know maybe not really tidy, but AI can help you prepare your PowerPoint very powerfully and neater than what I presented as PowerPoint. So there are different, not just about students, copying what AI, there are a very many other aspects and angles to this AI that are very, very positive and interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So
Okay, Chairman. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm having a very good time with all of these perspectives that are coming up, and particularly from what she said. She came to a point where we talk about lecturers, teachers, and when we talk about them, the problem with them, they are the number one agent of curriculum implementation. And you get to discover that the problem, and when we talk about curriculum, well, the first thing that comes to your mind is the document that is written. That written document as your BMAS or CCMAS or the one prepared by NERDC at the lower level. That's what comes to mind. But it is the teacher or the lecturer that gives life and shape and meaning to that document. And that is why everything revolves around that person. Now, that person we talk about, that teacher, that lecturer, like he has also submitted, is under immense pressure. Economic pressure, academic pressure. Of course, you have family pressure, social expectations, and things like that. And of course, we also come to a point where we look at our environment. We look at our environment. We talk about child-centered learning, problem solving. All of those things are not realistic in the Nigerian context. You know why? The reason why it's not realistic is that we cannot afford, the Nigerian government cannot afford to put up a classroom where, do you know that if a class is to be child-centered, it will not be a pastor, it will not be a pulpit pew kind of arrangement that we have in our classrooms. It will be cohorts of students working in fives, sometimes in threes. The arrangement will be different. The infrastructure that will be available will be different. So we are forced to retain the lecture method. The teacher comes or the lecturer comes to teach about, sometimes I teach 300 levels, close to 300 students. 300, yes. I teach it for a fun. 300 level students, more than 300 students. Some will teach 700. I know those are teaching 700. I know those are teaching 1,000, 1,000, 1,005. You understand? In a class. So that alone is a pressure. How do you expect him to mark? You know, how do you expect him to do all of these things? And that is where the issue of anger. When you go to their I tell my students, because I am always friendly with them, I say, see, understand what we are doing. When I finish a 2-hour class with you, that is not the best time to knock my door. I said, you will not get the best out of me. I tell my students at the beginning of the class of the semester, I'll tell them, I said, when you want to see me, come not immediately after I am leaving your class. Come on a very good day that I'm just okay. But after 2 hours, you know, we need to be real. After 2 hours of lecture, talking, and I'm tensed up, I'm already sweating, I just need water to just chill. That's when you are now telling me that you missed one attendance, something that is actually maybe due to your fault. You know, we are not likely to get the best out of that lecturer. So I'm just painting that scenario to let us know that lecturers, they are under a lot of pressure. And the fact that the infrastructure, you know, is also not there to support whatever it is that they are doing. All of those things will not make, you know, and all of those issues, infrastructure, lecturer, they are issues of implementation actually. They are not, the problem is not with what was written in the document. And that's why I'm saying that the problem is actually not with what was written, but with the way it is being implemented.
I still want to talk on the issue of the curriculum. To me, I think that there is still an issue with the curriculum, most especially in terms of flexibility. Now, take for instance, if you are a student in Nigeria, it's possible for you to gain admission outside and you are studying science. Someone was speaking yesterday in the panel, and he was saying that you can actually go for interdisciplinary programs. But here in Nigeria, a science student will definitely become a science student. A art student will definitely become art student. But whereas there should be a flexibility, even teachers know that the curriculum is not flexible. And when they go to class, they are restricted. Because there is a stated objective there, and you must achieve the objective. At the end of the lesson, they must be able to define velocity. They must be able to explain this. So let's just accept that there's a problem with the curriculum, because outside there, they are also using the curriculum. And it's helping them. Here, for kindergarten, we start by saying they must spell 2-letter words. 3-letter words. When they get to primary school, lower primary school. Over there, what are they doing? And they are playing. And through they are playing with tools.
And those tools are not cheap.
They are not cheap. And as they are doing that, it's affecting their critical thinking. But for our own curriculum here, we build a curriculum in such a way that if a parent, when the child get home, if you can't spell 3-letter words and you are in primary 2, you are in trouble.
I'm already having this kind of issue because I have a 4-year-old child.
Okay.
And right now she's expected, like most of when I got to pick her from school last week, they said to work sad. I was like, why are you sad? She said, oh, as if my teacher said I'm not beautiful because I can't write fast. And I'm like, wow, okay, hold it up. I just like right. I said, hold it up. Okay, so what they asked to write? Said they asked to write Jaguar. I was like, they don't have to mention the names of wild animals. She mentioned all the names of wild animals, like 10 of it. So they asked her, she spelled dog, cat, she spelled all those 3-letter words. Yeah. So she said Jaguar, they said spell it, she can't spell it. So the child was very angry with her. I told the child, no, this is just a 4-year-old child. That as I am now, I also teach some kids that are in the US, in the UK. They are not doing what she's doing. Please stop her justice with me. I was just begging them. And this thing, I found out that sometimes she doesn't want to go to school because she's like, oh no, that the pressure is much. And they give them textbooks. The textbooks they give them are primary 1 textbooks. I told my husband, the next session, I want her out of school. Oh, like, oh, they're pressurizing her.
Thank you so much. So you come to the end of the day. Close it. It's been wonderful. Thank you. So fascinating. So
That was
online participants.
so. Thanks so much to the online participants. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks. Bye.
I want you.